and Ms. Lynch. We do have a quorum.
Thank you. Madam Clerk, please call the first name on the list of citizen comment period speakers, please.
The first speaker is Charles Yang.
Good evening, President Jones, members of council. Thank you for the opportunity to speak here tonight. My name is Charles Yang, and I'm a born and raised Richmonder. I've lived here practically my whole life. The product of public school education, I consider Richmond to be my home in the fullest sense of the word. But like for many other Richmonders, home suddenly became a lot more expensive for me in the past couple of years. Now, many would blame rising home prices on outsiders moving here, but I'm personally glad that other people have come to Richmond and discovered all the things that make this city beautiful. And I reject the principle of exclusion and seeking to discern who deserves to live in the city. And instead, I believe that we should welcome new neighbors and new communities to Richmond, and that the problem lies not with people, but in our social restriction of what kinds of housing we build. That's why 4 months ago I decided to start RVA YIMBY. We're a group that exists to advocate for housing developments and zoning reform. You've already met many members of our group. 6 out of the 8 of the speakers that spoke in favor of abolishing parking minimums were members of our group. And we look forward to working with council and supporting housing in this city, including the upcoming ADU by right proposal. Thank you for all the work that you all do for the city, and I look forward to working with you all in the coming months.
The next speaker is Stacy Van Cherry.
Hi there. Good evening. I'm here to talk about the new and proposed changes regarding short-term rentals. Since the original ordinance passed in 2020, there have been 164 applications out of 1,000 currently running short-term rentals. There have only been 63 permits issued for 1,000 short-term rentals. 900 are operating illegally. This month, the city passed very quickly an ordinance requiring operators to remit tax to the city. Operators want to remit tax to the city, but it's in its current form, the city is expecting $3.25 million a year by your estimates from illegal operators. The reason behind the original ordinance was to make STRs safe and not a burden on neighborhoods. But most STR operators are not going to apply for permits with the current owner occupancy requirement. Until that's addressed, you're going to have 900 illegal operators. July 1, the city starts to collect tax from illegal operators while simultaneously threatening them with $500 a month in fines. So does the city want the $3.2 million a year in taxes, or would they like us to shut down most of the STR operators? I don't see how we can do both. I'd like to request a public forum to further request information. Thank you.
The last speaker for this evening is Michelle Blunt. Ms. Blunt, if you would unmute your device.
My name is Michelle Brown. Good evening, councilman. And I'm having really a bad problem here. And me and my husband have been homeless and displaced for at least 5 months. And we are upstanding citizens. And I really feel that we should have more than we have been acceptable to. And I really appreciate Ms. Wilmore and Mr. Tavares for helping us as much as they can. We have been sleeping in our cars for 5 months, and I really feel that we are supposed to have more than we have been given, and no one has ever took the time, and we are doing the resources, and I'd like to see more happen for me and my husband. And thank you very much.
And Mr. President, that concludes the list of citizen comment period speakers for this evening.
Yes, I believe Ms. Trammell asked, she had a statement. No? Okay, great. All right, moving forward. Ms. Clerk, let's move on to review any amendments to tonight's agenda.
Mr. President, the amendments to tonight's agenda are as follows.
And I'm going to stop you real quick. Some people buzzed in that I did not see. I apologize. Ms. Jordan.
Thank you, President Jones, and I just want to thank those who spoke tonight. And if it's possible, I know short-term rentals, that's something that the city has been tracking, and obviously it's an issue of national interest. I think it would be appropriate and welcome if we could get an update from the Director of Planning on what that public outreach has been and what we have to look forward to as we get to a new ordinance, because clearly the ordinance we have is not working currently. So could administration come up and just give us a quick recap?
If they're ready, if not, we'll find another form by which they can do it. Mr. Vaughn?
Thank you, council members. Kevin J. Funk, Director of Planning Development Review. As far as outreach on short-term rentals, that was included in part of our 3 zoning changes outreach that we conducted last fall, where we talked about parking requirements, accessory dwelling units, and short-term rentals. We did a number of public engagement sessions, both in person and virtual at the library. We hosted a number of focus groups, and then we had a second round of public meetings in December of last year. We used all that information in crafting our proposed legislations. We dealt with parking minimums. You will actually have a paper later today for accessory dwelling units. And right now, the short-term rental paper is being vetted by our city attorney's office. And we look forward to having that ready for introduction hopefully soon. And at that time, would engage in another additional outreach as directed.
Dr. Newbill?
Thank you, President Johnson. Thank you, Mr. Vonk. Mr. Vonk, I'd just like to ask if you would send to all council members the document that delineates the outreach that's been done over the period of time you've described, as well as the responses to the questions that I think Ms. Joy Hogg provided, just so that everybody has that at the top of the email. But just the sheer volume in terms of outreach, I think is important for the body to have that information. So if you could send that again.
Sure, I would be happy to do that.
Thank you. President Jones, what I was going to also, I didn't have anything else relative to that item. I just wanted to make sure that we had a speaker, Ms. Michelle Blunt, that our staff would follow up with her. She indicated they've been sleeping in a vehicle, and so I'm sure that we have a number or some way to reach that person, and so if staff could follow up with her, would appreciate that.
Thank you for catching that, Dr. Newbill. And I see several in the administration shaking their heads, so thank you very much. Mr. Clerk, let's move on to review any amendments to this evening's agenda.
Yes, Mr. President. The amendments to tonight's agenda are as follows. Item 1, ordinance 2023-090 will be continued to the Monday, July 24th council meeting. Item 2, ordinance 2023-108 will be continued to the Monday, July 24th council meeting. Item 4, ordinance 2023-130 will be amended later this evening and then continued to the Monday, July 24th council meeting. Item 6, ordinance 2023-152 will be continued to the Monday, July 24th meeting. And lastly, item 21, resolution 2023-R029 will be continued to the Monday, July 24th council meeting. Mr. President, those are all the items that are proposed agenda amendments this evening.
Does any member of council have any additional amendments to this evening's agenda? Is there a motion to accept the agenda as amended?
So moved, President Jones.
Second.
Council is voting on this evening's agenda amendments as presented. Ms. Jordan?
Aye.
Ms. Lambert?
Aye.
Ms. Robertson?
Aye.
Ms. Trammell?
Aye.
Ms. Newbill?
Aye.
Vice President Nye? And President Jones?
Aye.
The amended agenda is before you, and the consent agenda consists of the following items. Item 3, ordinance 2023-121. Item 5, ordinance 2023-145. Item 7, ordinance 2023-157. Item 8, ordinance 2023-174. Item 9, ordinance 2023-175. Item 10, ordinance 2023-176. Item 11, ordinance 2023-177. Item 12, ordinance 2023-178. Item 13, ordinance 2023-179. Item 14, ordinance 2023-180. Item 15, ordinance 2023-182. Item 16, ordinance 2023-183. Item 17, ordinance 2023-184. Item 18, ordinance 2023-185. Item 19, ordinance 2023-186. Item 20, ordinance 2023-187. And lastly, item 22, resolution 2023-R030. Mr. President, those are all the items on tonight's consent agenda.
We'll now have a public hearing on the consent agenda items. Are there persons here this evening who wish to speak in opposition of any of the items on the consent agenda? Would ask that you would line up in a single file line in the aisle. All persons who wish to speak in opposition of any item or items on the consent agenda, all those that are here to speak in opposition, would ask that you would line up in the center aisle. Again, just as a reminder, public hearing shall be limited to a minute. Good evening, sir.
Mr. President, I'd like to speak in opposition to item 7, the SUP for Avery Hall for a 17-story building. I'm Jack Pearsall. I live at 513 West 7th Street in Manchester. The two hot areas in the city right now that are drawing residents and businesses, Scott's Addition and Manchester. Manchester has the added advantage.
30 seconds.
Has the added advantage that it has the best view in the city of Richmond. Manchester is a hill. As you go up the hill, you've got the view all the way up to Gordon Avenue. What is being done with this SUP is to deliberately void the requirements of the RF2 zoning. This is already zoned RF2, but RF2 requires a view break every 300 feet, 50 feet wide at the ground up to 4th story.
Thank you, Mr. Pearsall. That's your time.
Big point.
That is your time.
That was not 3 minutes
It's 1 minute per speaker.
because it's the consent agenda.
No, sir, I
Excuse
announced
me.
that, I announced that at the beginning of the meeting, that public hearing and a public comment would be limited to a minute in light of concerns as related to the impending storm. We want to ensure that all staff has the opportunity to close out their duties and make their way home. And so that we appreciate everyone's understanding in that.
I simply urge you to put it on the regular agenda and to disallow the West Tower.
Sir, thank you. I appreciate your advocacy, indeed.
Good evening. My name is Omar El Khadafi. I came to speak against item number 14. My concern is that there seems to be a lack of coordination and accountability across the city when it comes to addressing the greatest needs in terms of housing affordability in the city. The issue with this ordinance in particular is it's not really clear exactly what the recipients of these funding are being required to do. I noticed in the first tranche of American Rescue Plan Act funding, there were developers on there who I recognize from, being on evictor lists and high evictors, and there were developers that I'm aware of that in the city have been raising their rents like $300 or $400, but then we're giving them millions of dollars and claiming that it's preserving affordable housing. And so it's not really clear. I requested the applications that were submitted by the 12 projects from the city administration. They have refused to send me to them. I requested them over a month ago.
Thank
so what
you.
I'm asking you, Mr. Chair, is could you present a resolution to cause the city to bring forward those housing applications for funding that were supported by the American
Sir, you're
Rescue.
past time.
Thank you. That's your time.
Are there individuals who have signed up by your rules and regulations, Madam Clerk, to speak at this point in time virtually?
To speak in opposition, no, Mr. President.
Seeing no others, we'll now move to those who wish to speak in favor of anything that is on this evening's consent agenda. We would ask that you would make your way to the center aisle. If this gentleman comes down with the baby, he shall go first. No, seriously, come on down. We want to respect the fact. Thank you, Mr. Lloyd. And that's if you choose to take that opportunity, but I just want to respect the fact. Yeah, way to bring the baby.
Well, good evening. My wife Meredith and I are here to speak in support of Ordinance 2023-174. When we first learned Meredith was pregnant with our daughter Maddie, we started looking for childcare, and we added her name to many childcare waiting lists. And 2 years later, she's still on those lists. There's a real lack of childcare in the city, and that's where your support of this ordinance can make such a meaningful difference to families in our neighborhoods. When we first toured the cottage school and met these younger, wonderful women, we were so excited to join their family.
30 seconds.
And we share their vision of bringing our community together around caring for children. So we hope we can have the opportunity to do that today with your support. Thank you.
Sir, can you please state your name for the record?
Yeah, my name is James Weber.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Tracy Walters, and I'm here to support ordinance number 2023-174, the cottage school that's in Ginner Park, Northside. I know I have a short amount of time. I will just say I want to echo what Mr. Weber just shared with the crisis in childcare. I would also like to say that from birth to age 5, 90% of a child's brain is developed. This is a critical time for young children and families to be supported in our community, and it's a must. I would also like to share from an employee standpoint, there has been 12% of teachers leaving the workforce that has not been regained in child care centers in the city of Richmond. And we have gotten to the point that that is really impacting the care and welfare for quality care, not just care, but quality care of young children. 76% of employers in the city of Richmond said that child care availability affects recruitment and retention for their employees. Availability is really hard to find.
Thank you.
And
That's your
affordability. 78% of missed work time, 51% of reduced.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Patricia Moon, and I am here in support of Ordinance 2023-174. I want to share with you that we identified the need for a child care center, a critical need for child care in Northside at 3601 Seminary Avenue and the Ginner Park Presbyterian Church. There was a child care center some years ago that did not prevail, but we now are able to offer a 501c3 charitable center to the children and families in that location. And we're very excited about that. We hope to meet the needs not only of the children and families, but also of the Richmond community, because it will allow the families to return to the workforce. Thank you so much.
Mr. President, members of council, good evening. My name is Preston Lloyd. I'm an attorney at William Smullen, appearing on behalf of the applicant in item number 7 on the agenda, Avery Hall. As you've heard, there are, as you will hear, there are a number of members of the community who we've been pleased to work with over the course of the last year to take a project that goes beyond what's allowed by right and instead improve it so that it responds to some of the needs of the community. And we also express our gratefulness to Councilwoman Robertson in helping to lead those negotiations and conversations. And so we've made several commitments which are incorporated in the SUP ordinance that you have, as well as other community benefit commitments that we've made to the Manchester Alliance, which I'll let them speak to specifically. But should council have other concerns or questions about the application, we'd be delighted to answer those at your pleasure. Thank you again for your consideration.
Hi, I'm Glenda Kochish. I'm the president of Manchester Alliance, and I'm here to talk about number 7, ordinance 2023-157. Avery Hall is the applicant. Manchester Alliance worked with Avery Hall over the course of a year and had some stipulations and concerns about the project. And all of our concerns were met. They changed their design. They, to
30
their
seconds.
expense, to extreme expense. And we are now getting green space that we wanted, pet and park and many other advantages for the entire community and for the city. And the Manchester Alliance Board supported this SUP.
Good evening, Mr. President. My name is Andrew Bryant. I'm here to speak in favor of Ordinance 2023-157. The addition of hundreds of housing units, over 500 units of housing, will be a big and very welcome addition to the city for keeping Richmond an accessible place for all residents,
30 seconds.
and promoting the housing abundance that myself and other Richmonders want to see, which will help alleviate the housing crisis that we're all currently feeling. Thank you.
City Council, Councilman Jones, thank you for letting me speak this evening. I speak in support of Ordinance 2023-157. My name is Will Wilson. I live in Jackson Ward of the 2nd District. On top of the obvious benefits that Andrew just talked about, the 550 units, this proposal is important because it represents for the developer their first experience with real estate development in our metro region. I highlight this for 3 reasons that bear on our business environment. 1, dynamism. Having another development team in our market sets up the conditions for increased competition in real estate and the benefits of choice to the consumer. Resiliency. A developer with a positive experience and return on building in our jurisdiction will continue to build here. We win another entity with the connections and capacity to navigate the planning and process of building. Thus, we get more than just a project. We could end up with the project pipeline. And 3rd, reputation. The developer, in this case Avery Hall, but increasingly from different places, introduces to their home development community their experience getting permission to build here. In that referenceability, we want them to tout things like timeliness, transparency, and accommodating of increased density. Thank you.
William Andrews, resident of the 8th District. Wanted to thank Reva Trammell for patronizing the ordinance towards giving a bonus for retirees. I'm a retiree. Thank you.
Good evening. Hi, I'm Doug Pick. I'm for 10 years now the CEO of Feedmore. It's a pleasure to be here with all of you. I'm speaking in regards to item number 2023-179 in favor of the appropriation put forward for Feedmore and our move, unfortunately, to Henrico County. We tried like heck to stay in the city, but couldn't find the right property. The good news is you'll get between 300 and 400 units of revenue coming there. But we sure would appreciate your assistance in this. Feedmore, just to kind of put it in perspective, last year provided 7 million.
30 seconds.
Yep, 791,000 pounds of food to the city, 80 partner agencies in the city. All of this will stay, all of this will continue. 21,000 backpacks, summer food service to 16 sites, 37,000 meals. Mobile pantries, 15 sites, 537,000. Senior commodity boxes at 21 sites. Meals on Wheels, 100,000 meals to the seniors of the city. If the city had paid for this and operated this, it would have been a $15 million cost. So we sure would appreciate the additional appropriations for our new facility. We've been out of space, unfortunately, for 3 years, and there's been no choice but to do this.
Thank you.
I'm going back 5 years and thank Ms. Trammell for fixing our road that 1 year. It's made a huge difference to our trucks.
Thank you. That's your time.
Mr. Clerk, has anyone signed up to speak virtual?
Yes, Mr. President, we had 4 individuals sign up to speak in support virtually by today's 10 a.m. deadline. And the first speaker is Kelly Martin. You may proceed with your comments. Kelly Martin, you can unmute and proceed with your comments. Mr. President, if you would like, I can call back to him and proceed to the next speaker.
Please move forward. Thank you.
The next speaker is Nebi Gurma.
Hi, my name is Nebi Garma. I want to speak in support of Ordinance 2023174 in support of the cottage school. Similar to the family that spoke first, as soon as we found out we were having it, we signed up for many child care centers, and he's almost 2 now, and we're still on those waiting lists. There's a desperate need for child care in the city of Richmond. My partner and I both work full time and have had to take many days off to provide childcare for our son. The cottage school will provide a safe and quality education for our child and for people in the north side of Richmond. So we look forward to hopefully being able to welcome the cottage school to the Ginter Park community. Thank you.
Kelly Martin, you can now unmute yourself and proceed with your comments.
Sorry about that. Good evening. My name is Kelly Martin. I live at the 3900 block of Fauquier Avenue. I'm speaking in support of Ordinance 2023-145. It's a stop sign on Fauquier and Nottoway. In the Bellevue neighborhood, south of Bellevue Avenue, there are 4 intersections on Fauquier Avenue. 3 out of the 4 have 4-way stops. This intersection at Nottoway does not. It creates 2 very long city blocks where traffic has increased speed. And it's become very dangerous for the many children that live on the 2 blocks there, as well as vehicle traffic on Nottoway attempting to make a left or to cross over Fauquier. We've submitted a petition to Councilwoman Lambert. I appreciate her support. Over 40 of our neighbors supporting this. The Bellevue Civic Association has also submitted a letter to Councilwoman Lambert and her office, also in support of adding the stop sign. It would make a huge difference to our children and to vehicle traffic in the neighborhood. Thank you.
The next speaker is Lee Kramer. You can unmute and proceed with your comments.
Good evening. My name is Lee Crandall, and I'm here to speak in support of Ordinance 2023-174, the opening of the cottage school. I am so excited about this school coming into this space. I know that there is a shortage of childcare in Richmond, as everybody's pointed out, and as somebody who works in the north side, I'll be so grateful to have this option open as a way to be close to my child when I'm working and to spend less time commuting to and from childcare every day. This opportunity in this school is also what enables me to be able to work full time. And I am grateful that they are doing their best to open this space as quickly as possible. Thank you so much for supporting them. I know they'll do a wonderful job and create an amazing environment for kiddos.
The final speaker is Jean Baker.
Hi, my name is Jean Bowker. I wanted to speak in support of Ordinance 2023-145 to add the 2 additional stop signs at the intersection of Fauquier Avenue and Nottoway Avenue to make it an all-way stop. We've lived on this intersection for 10 years. Cars speed through this particular stretch of Fauquier, making it a very dangerous spot for cars, cyclists, and pedestrians, many of whom are kids. I hope this intersection will finally have an all-way stop to ensure the safety of those that live and use this road. Thank you so much for your help.
Mr. President, that concludes the list of virtual speakers.
Public hearing now closed. Bring it back to council for discussion. Councilor Lambert.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just wanted to thank all those that have spoken in favor and opposition of the papers here on the consent agenda, especially item number 5, ordinance 2023-145. This is a true example of Team Northside working together, getting the citizens engaged to come together for this 4-way stop sign. This is something that has been in the works, and so I'm just grateful that this is coming to this moment of voting on it tonight, as well as item number 2023-174. This day nursery is something that's desperately needed in my district, and I appreciate those that came out and spoke in favor. That's what it's all about, coming together, listening to our citizens, and making sure we have affordable and quality childcare. So I'm glad you all came out and spoke in support of that. And lastly, I want to speak in favor of ordinance number 2023-177, the gun buyback program. My co-painter in this paper, I was integral in making sure the first gun buyback program was in effect, and so I'm happy to support this second effort. This is just a notch on the belt, part of the solution of gun violence here in our city. It's not the answer, but it is part of the solution. So I'm happy to see that that's on here, and I encourage my colleagues to add their name to this paper because it's something that desperately is needed here in our city. And that's all that I have, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
Ms. Clerk, call the question.
Council is voting on this evening's consent agenda items as presented. Ms. Jordan?
Aye.
Ms. Lambert?
Aye.
Ms. Robertson?
Aye.
Ms. Trammell?
Aye.
Ms. Newbill?
Aye.
Vice President Nye?
Aye. Aye.
And President Jones.
Aye.
Those papers have been adopted.
Madam Clerk, let's move on to the regular agenda.
Yes, the item on this evening's regular agenda is item 23, ordinance number 2023-181, to submit a program year 2023 fiscal year 2024 annual action plan to HUD as an application for the receipt of CDBG, home, ESG, and HOPWA funds to accept $9 million from HUD and to appropriate the amount for various projects. That paper is before council for consideration.
Would the patron or their designee like to introduce or share any comments regarding this paper?
Good evening, President Jones and esteemed council members. My name is Cheryl Hampton, Director for the Department of Housing and Community Development with the City of Richmond. Ordinance 2023-181 is the annual FY24 allocation for our federal funds. That is CDBG, home, ESG, which stands for Emergency Solutions Grant, and HOPWA, Housing Opportunities with Persons with AIDS. The total amount of funds coming to us is roughly $9,085,000 and some odd dollars, as you see here, $62. That includes the FY24 award of approximately $8 million and something, plus any surplus or program income funds that we have on hand from FY 2023. So we put it all in. We did have, this is a competitive application cycle. We, as the ONR states, we took applications, received them on March 3rd. They were rated and ranked. We used external rater and rankers along with HCD staff. There is no guarantee on annual allocations having the same level of funding each year. We received a reduction in CDBG and our home funds this year. ESG is a very small pot of funds, and we do not compete with Homeward for additional funds from the state because we are a member of the GRCOC. HOPWA, we receive additional funds, and as you see in the footnote, we will have an additional round funding cycle later in FY24 to put out those additional funds. So I'll stop now and see if there are any questions.
No, ma'am, we'll hold the Madam Clerk, can we hold the public hearing right now, please?
Is there anyone here to speak in opposition of this paper? Is there anyone here to speak in favor of this paper? And Mr. President, there are no virtual speakers for either side.
Public hearing is now closed. Bring it back to council for discussion. Ms. Lambert?
Mr. Chair, I just had a question. Why was this paper on the on the regular agenda? Is it, I know it's 9 million, but, I was just wondering why it was on.
It's a rule.
Okay. Okay.
Or else, trust me, it would have been on the consent if it was allowed. So it's a rule. There's no other comments or questions. Ms. Clerk, call the question.
Council is now voting on ordinance number 2023-181 as stated. Ms. Jordan? Ms. Lambert?
Aye.
Ms. Robertson?
Aye.
Ms. Trammell?
Aye.
Ms. Newbill?
Aye.
Vice President Nye?
Aye.
And President Jones?
Aye.
That paper has been adopted.
Madam Clerk, are there papers to amend this evening?
Yes, there is one, and it is for ordinance number 2023-130 to amend city code by adding a new section 4-401 concerning exotic and wild animals. The amendment to that paper is as follows. Page 1, line 18, after the comma following the word wild, insert the text except birds legally removed from the wild under authorization of a federal or state agency, followed by a comma. Page 2, line 4, at the beginning of the line, strike the word and. After the word rats, insert a comma followed by the text non-venomous reptiles, amphibians, and fish. Page 2, line 9, after the word for, insert the text individuals, organizations, followed by a comma. Page 2, line 10, after the word are, strike the word property, insert the word properly. Page 2, line 11, after the word license, insert the text for permitted. Page 2, line 12, after the word the, strike the word department and insert the word department. Page 2, line 13, after the word animal, strike the comma in the following text except the persons holding a category 1, 2, or 3 wildlife rehabilitation permit in applicable state law. Page 2, line 16, after the comma following the word Richmond, insert the word or. Page 2, line 17, at the beginning of the line, strike the text giving or selling and insert the word relinquishing. After the comma following the word park, strike the text or by releasing the animal to. Page 2, line 18, after the word department, strike the text which shall release the animal to the wild to a zoological park. And the following comma. Page 2, line 19, after the word license, insert the text or permitted. Page 3, line 6, after the first occurrence of the inserted word the, strike the inserted word department and insert the word department. I will need a motion to accept the amendment as read and to continue this paper to the Monday, July 24th council meeting. Councilmember Jordan, will you make that motion, please?
So moved. Second.
Thank you. Council is voting on the motion to amend and continue ordinance number 2023-130 to the July 24th council meeting as stated. Ms. Jordan?
Aye.
Ms. Lambert?
Aye.
Ms. Robertson?
Aye.
Ms. Trammell?
Aye.
Ms. Newbill?
Aye.
Vice President Nye?
Aye.
And President Jones?
Aye.
The motion has been approved and that paper will be before you again as amended again on July 24th.
Madam Clerk, let's move on to the to approval of minutes, please.
The minutes to be approved are the June 12th, 2023 informal and formal meeting minutes, as well as the meeting minutes from the special meeting on June 5th, 2023. If there are no amendments or corrections, then the meeting minutes will stand approved as presented. Those minutes have been approved.
Madam Clerk, please read the introductory papers for this evening.
Mr. President, the introduction papers for this evening are as follows. The following legislation will be considered for recommendation at the June 28th Governmental Operations Standing Committee meeting at 1 p.m. An ordinance to designate the 5200 block of Warwick Road in honor of Dr. Roscoe D. Cooper, Jr. An ordinance to designate the 1700 block of Porter Street in honor of the late Dr. Ruth Moore. An ordinance to designate the 2200 block of Bainbridge Street in honor of the late Mrs. Mizelle Willis Minor. The following legislation will be considered for recommendation at the July 13th Education and Human Services Standing Committee meeting at 2 p.m. An ordinance to authorize the CAO to execute a My Life Coach Academy grant contract between the city and Rings versus Rent Scholarship Foundation for the purpose of funding a summer youth leadership development program for Martin Luther King Jr. middle school students. The following legislation will be considered for recommendation at the Monday, July 17th Planning Commission meeting at 1:30 p.m. An ordinance to amend and reordain city code concerning permitted accessory uses and structures in certain zoning districts and additional exceptions granted by the Board of Zoning Appeals, and to amend city code by adding certain definitions. An ordinance to amend ordinance number 2023-073 by increasing anticipated revenue from general obligation bonds and by appropriating $4,742,000 to the Department of Public Works Highland Grove Dove Street project for the purpose of the construction of 139 residential units. An ordinance to authorize the CAO to accept $762,414 from the Federal Highway Administration for the purpose of funding the implementation of Vision Zero traffic safety program activities. An ordinance to authorize the CAO to accept $459,720 from VDOT for the purpose of providing new traffic control devices at certain stop-controlled intersections. An ordinance to authorize the special use of the property known as 1330 North 25th Street for the purpose of an automated teller machine. An ordinance to authorize the special use of the property known as 907 West 32nd Street for the purpose of a dwelling unit within an accessory building to a single-family detached dwelling. An ordinance to authorize the special use of the property known as 1410 West 43rd Street for the purpose of an art gallery, office, studio, and retail uses, and to repeal ordinance number 95-281-275. An ordinance to authorize the special use of the property known as 2301 Grove Avenue for the purpose of a dwelling unit within an accessory building to a single-family detached dwelling. An ordinance to authorize the special use of the properties known as 2 Manchester Road and 4 Manchester Road for the purpose of a mixed-use development. An ordinance to authorize the special use of the property known as 2401 Rosewood Avenue for the purpose of a single-family attached dwelling and accessory building. An ordinance to authorize the special use of the property known as 10 South Rowland Street for the purpose of a multifamily dwelling with off-street parking. An ordinance to authorize the special use of the properties known as 219 South Stafford Avenue and 2329 Parkwood Avenue for the purpose of up to 26 single-family attached dwellings. An ordinance to conditionally rezone the property known as 15 West Gray Street to remove the priority street frontage designation for the portion of the property along North Adams Street. An ordinance to conditionally rezone the properties known as 4818, 4824, 4830, 4838, and 4850 Walmsley Boulevard from the R01 Residential Office District to the B6 Mixed Use Business District, 4870 Walmsley Boulevard from the B2 Community Business District to the B6 Mixed Use Business District, and 4890 Walmsley Boulevard from the R4 Single Family Residential District to the B6 Mixed Use Business District. The following legislation will be considered for recommendation at the July 18th Land Use, Housing, and Transportation Standing Committee meeting at 3 p.m. An ordinance to authorize the CAO to execute a grant agreement between the city and the United States Department of Transportation for the purpose of Vision Zero safety program activities. An ordinance to authorize the CAO to execute a memorandum of agreement between the city and the Virginia Department of General Services for the purpose of setting forth the responsibilities for the replacement and relocation of utilities in Capitol Square. A resolution to support the application for an allocation of $10 million through the Virginia Department of Transportation Revenue Sharing Program to provide maintenance and construction assistance to certain transportation projects. A resolution to provide for the nomination of Andreas D. Addison, Ellen F. Robertson, and J. E. Lincoln Saunders as the City of Richmond's 3 directors and the election of the Board of Directors of the Greater Richmond Transit Company for the period commencing upon election and qualification of these nominees as directors and terminating on the date of the 2020 2024 annual meeting of shareholders upon the election and qualification of the successors to these directors. A resolution to fund the installation of pedestrian safety improvements along Cary Street Road at its intersection with 3 Chop Road. A resolution to request the Commonwealth Transportation Board to establish the Downtown Core Protected Bike Lanes project to fund the installation of permanent physical barriers as buffers between bicycle lanes and motor vehicle traffic on 1st Street, 3rd Street, and Franklin Street. A resolution to fund the installation of a pedestrian hybrid beacon, high visibility sidewalk, and accessible curb ramps on US Route 1 at its intersection with Dinwiddie Avenue and at its intersection with Westminster Avenue. A resolution to fund the installation of pedestrian safety improvements along Patterson Avenue at its intersection with Libby Avenue to its intersection with Maple Avenue. A resolution to fund the extension of the shared use path from the intersection of Stony Run Road and Jenny Shore Road to the intersection of Jenny Shore Road and East Richmond Road. A resolution to fund the extension of parking protected bike lanes on Patterson Avenue from its intersection with Commonwealth Avenue to its intersection with Willow Lawn Drive. A resolution to fund the construction of sidewalks and a shared use path in the city's Scotts Addition neighborhood. A resolution to fund the construction of rectangular rapid flashing beacons, high visibility crosswalks, accessible curb ramps, and channelizing islands on Forest Hill Avenue at its intersection with Taylor Avenue, and the installation of curb extensions and rectangular rapid flashing beacons on Forest Hill Avenue between Westover Hills Boulevard and West 48th Street. A resolution to fund new sidewalks on Carnation Street from its intersection with Warwick Road to its intersection with High Oaks Road. A resolution to fund new sidewalks in the city's Maymont neighborhood. The following legislation will be considered for recommendation at the July 20th Finance and Economic Development Standing Committee meeting at 1 p.m. An ordinance to authorize the CAO to enter into the 26th Commercial Area Revitalization Effort Program Cooperation Agreement between the city and the Economic Development Authority of the city for the purpose of providing for the operation of the Commercial Area Revitalization Effort Program. An ordinance to authorize the CAO to execute an enterprise zone cooperation agreement between the city and the Economic Development Authority of the city to stabilize and revitalize enterprise zone areas by stimulating private investment through financial incentives. An ordinance to authorize the issuance of general obligation public improvement bonds of the city in the amount of $4,200,000 to finance the cost of school projects and general capital improvement projects of the city. A resolution to amend resolution number 2021-R081 for the purpose of modifying the quarterly reporting schedule. And a resolution to authorize the issuance of public utility revenue refunding bonds of the city in the maximum principal amount of up to $600 million to refund all or portions of certain public utility revenue bonds previously issued by the city, and to authorize the Director of Finance to sell such refunding bonds. This concludes the introduction of ordinances and resolutions.
Now, I had said earlier, due to the weather, that we would suspend announcements from counselors, but Ms. Trammell asked if we could just allow for a minute, and so I don't think we would be out anything if everyone took that minute. And we're going to cut your mic at 59.9. No, just kidding. If everyone would just respect that minute, so we'll move through it and allow staff to close out the building and do what they need to do to get home safely. Ms. Trammell, we'll go start with you.
Thank you, Mr. President. On this Thursday, June the 29th, 2023, I will be at the northeast corner of the intersection of 32nd Street and Hall Street, and that is where Preston Brown and Kirby Carmichael used to run the radio station, right over there. And I want to recognize them for all the years of their hard work, and everyone is invited. Again, that will be this Thursday, 32nd and Hall Street, right in front of the radio station. Have any questions, you can call me 804-240-5050, and everyone is invited. And Mr. President, this is your smoke alarm. It's free. If you go to the nearest fire station, ask for a smoke alarm, they will come to your home. They will put the smoke alarm up for you for free, or you can call 646-1526. They will come to you and make sure you have a working smoke alarm. Thank you. Everyone be safe.
Dr. Nabil.
Thank you, President Jones. I'll be brief. I would like to invite members of the Richmond community to our 7th District Community Meeting tomorrow, Tuesday, June 27th at 6 p.m. at the Sarah Garland Jones Community Center, located at 2600 9 Mile Road. This will be an opportunity to hear Bon Secours' update and progress report on their Pathway to Wellness in the East End program that was developed in response to many concerns raised. But this is the Bon Secours Richmond's Pathway to Wellness in the East End. It will be a progress report, and Joe Trapani, the COO of Richmond Community Hospital, and Rose Ricknauer, the VP for External and Regulatory Affairs, will both be present to provide an update. Thank you.
Councilor Jordan?
Thank you, President Jones. We're having our 2nd District meeting this Wednesday, the 28th at 6 o'clock. It will be online, and we will be joined by the Director of Planning and Development to discuss the new ADU paper that was introduced this evening. So those are the granny plats, and there will be Q&A. Also, Charter Review Commission will be June 28th, same night, 6, 7:30, so you need to pick your topic. All of my district meetings are recorded, so people can go back to YouTube and watch them at their convenience. Pride Block Party celebrates the end of Pride Month this Friday, 5 o'clock, 10 p.m. at Diversity Richmond, 5 to 10, Diversity Richmond, Friday for the Pride is Our Power Block Party. And you can always reach out to my office with questions, 804-646-6532, or via email. Thank you so much.
Madam Robertson, if you're still on.
I am. Thank you very much, Mr. President. A couple announcements. We will be having the official Mike Simpson street naming on July the 1st, starting at 12 o'clock. The address is 3006 Meadowbridge Road. We are also finishing the playground at Hillside Community, and we will be planning a special event for that later on. We'll give you the dates and the time, but we will be opening up the playground in Hillside. Also, we are accepting applications for the AmeriCorps members. We have 16 slots. You may contact Paul Manning. The number is 804-646-6528. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you very much. Vice President Nye.
Thank you, President Jones. I just wanted to wish everyone a happy early 4th of July and remind folks that it's a city holiday, so there will be no trash pickup on that day, which is a Tuesday, and that's the day that we get the trash pickup in the 4th District, so your trash will be picked up on Wednesday. Also, a reminder to be safe with your pets. That's a night where a lot of pets who are not closed up properly get out, and RAC is really busy the day after. So please be safe with pets who get scared by fireworks, and also be safe with the activities that you're doing and attending. Also, a brief reminder that we are in our summer season and our neighborhood meetings may not be happening on a regular schedule. So please check before you show up to the neighborhood meetings. If you need me, you can reach out to me at 804-503-1313 or email me at kristen.nye@rva.gov. Thank you.
To all 9th District residents, want to remind you that we are suspending all of our town halls for the summer, and we will see you in September. Please be safe in this weather, and as already stated, happy 4th of July to everybody. Please be safe out on the roads this evening. To all those that are still in City Hall and on their way. Again, Pat Owls or the room that is used for an inclement weather shelter is open this evening. And so if you are inclined and are in need of services, please just make your way down to City Hall and there will be space for you. But again, to everyone, please be safe and thank you. We need to use this clock more often. This is a wonderful meeting. To my colleague, thank you for being so accommodating this evening. Dr. Newbow, I see your hand is up.
I want to say thank you for making the announcement relative to Pat House and that the time frame is from 4 to 10 to accommodate the weather circumstance. So thank you so much for that. And
Thank you.
staff
10
for
o'clock it
standing that up.
closes. And then members, I just want to keep in mind that you will get an email from our clerk's office just polling everyone about OD simply because it falls on the 3rd and is followed by the 4th of July. And we already have several members of council that are going to be out the 3rd, the 4th, and the 5th. So just to see whether or not you feel as if we can cancel OD for the month of July and move forward. Don't give me an answer tonight, but please respond to our clerk. Thank you, everyone. This meeting stands adjourned.